Hello, Kitty.
Hi, Klaudia.
So
How are
nice.
Well, there we go, you see. Our most regular listeners will realise that the release of the episodes have gotten a little bit sporadic, and there was an example of us being out of practice. Normally we never talk over each other.
That is true, Kitty. That is true. It only shows that we should be really meeting each other more often.
I know, I've missed you.
I missed you too. So, welcome to our 6th burst of happiness, and we are speaking about
The environment.
Woohoo! What a fantastic topic. So we're going to explore how the physical space and also nature influences our happiness and well-being. As always, we're going to speak about the environment in the context of our previous letters, such as unknown, values, and wonder.
So if you've not listened to those episodes from series 1, come and join us in a few weeks when you've caught up, and you'll get to the letter U, V and W, and then you'll know a little bit more about the psychological theories that we dove and delved into in those weeks.
So Kitty, simple question. Does environment actually impact our happiness?
100%. I mean, even if you're not just thinking about nature, the environment you live in, like your space, your room, your environment affects your happiness so much. But I do think that when I was a teenager, it had a much less of an impact because I was a lot more disgusting. My environment was not necessarily the highest priority of my happiness when I was younger. But now, you know, I'm 32 or 33, and my environment is so important to my mood and how I feel.
Yeah, I agree actually. I think the appreciation for the physical space around us, I think it does increase with age, you're right. But again, we know it from experience that exposure to that greenery, natural environments around us really improves our mental well-being. It helps us to really reduce our stress, gives us that kick of positive emotions, and generally I think calms us down. You naturally went into yes, this is such an obvious answer.
Yeah.
We could stop the episode here really.
Yeah, well done. Great episode, everybody. A couple of minutes.
Exactly.
That's a nice job for me in the edit.
But my question is, why do we actually expect that the nature and the environment influences our happiness in the first place? What's the reason for that?
Why do we expect it? Well, I mean, I'm told it all the time that nature is good for you. But I've actually just come back from a little staycation in Cornwall. And, oh my God, it just makes you feel so free, makes you connect with something bigger than yourself. Forget about the stresses of being locked to your laptop and the anxiety that comes from pressure. That nature is just calming and makes you forget about the stupid things you worry about.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Kitty, as always, spot on. So there are actually 3 interesting reasons why environment impacts our happiness in such a positive way. So the one is this idea of a connection. So there is a concept called biophilia, which is simply a hypothesis that we have very close connection between nature and other organisms around us. And when we are in nature, we are simply returning home.
Oh, that's also, I think, a Bjork album. And that's a really nice description of a Bjork album.
Yeah, fantastic. So that's the first one. The second is that natural environment have this indirect positive impact because it generally encourages certain behaviors. So if we are outside and in nature, we tend to do physical exercise, we tend to socialize, for instance, have picnics in parks or go on a walks in the woods or hiking, and all of these activities have that positive impact on our happiness. And the final reason is the green natural environment impacts the happiness in a positive way because it's free of certain stressors. So as you just mentioned, when we're in natural environment, we're experiencing digital detox. So we're not with our laptop anymore. So our body is resting. But also the air or noise pollution is much more decreased. So again, it has that calming effect on our body as a physical entity.
That makes sense. Makes so much sense. I mean, even just going out for a walk in the day, if I haven't gone outside, I feel all clogged up. But if I go to the park, if you look around and go down to the beach, I feel much better having connected with some sort of nature.
Absolutely. We love that, isn't it? That connection and that positive boost that we get from engaging with our environment. Okay, so let's have a think, Kitty, then. How can we harvest the positive impact of the environment on a daily basis?
Oh, well, I mean, easily. Go out for a walk, hug a tree, lick a leaf, talk to a squirrel, stroke a cat. I think look out the window and dream of the unknown that lies within nature and explore your imagination of what could be living in there.
As always, you are so optimistic, thinking about the unknown and kind of what could be. But I was actually thinking about more that I think first and foremost, if we want to have that positive impact of an environment, we really need to take care of it. So I was actually thinking that there is quite lots of unknown nowadays about the future of our planet.
Oh, yeah. How will we know how many of the little turtles are still going to be with us in 10 years? That's unknown. Oh, God, Klaudia, it's so depressing. Yeah, how will we know which trees, which plants won't be extinct by our terrible behaviours and coffee cups?
Absolutely. And even, will we be here in 10 years' time?
Wow.
I mean, we have 10 years to reduce our global carbon emission by 50%.
Wow, bloody hell.
I know, to avoid the worst effects of climate change. So I feel like, maybe if we want to still have those positive effects on the environment, it's really thinking about how we can take care of it. Do you experience at all this concept of eco-anxiety, which is worrying about the future of our planet?
I wouldn't say I suffer from something like that, but I would say that I've seen a difference in my own experience of the outside world from what it was a few years ago. So I used to work for the Fairyland Trust, a charity up in Suffolk, who are a nature conservation charity that put on events for young children to get them into nature at a young age. And we used to go on these training weekends where Chris would take us, Chris, a botanist and ex-Greenpeace, and the rolling green hills of the countryside that I thought were beautiful, he would bring to light to me the devastatingly dead nature of that there green grass. And we'd go and stand by a hedgerow, and I'd think, oh, okay, right, we're just standing by the edge of a road. And he'd be like, this is all dead. This has been pesticide did to its nth degree, and it's all just completely, it's got nothing living in it at all. So then I went to Cornwall this week as a holiday, a little staycation, and the hedgerows were like bustling and beaming with colour. It was so pink. There were foxgloves everywhere. And I thought, oh, wow, is this what it used to be like in the olden days? And then when I came back to Brighton, I thought, oh, no, I can't see as much of that colour in the green that there is in the hedgerows.
Yeah, those little elements really make you think that things are changing around us. And if we want to have that access to environment as it used to be and a healthy environment around us, we do need to take action. And I think if we're suffering with that eco-anxiety, and sometimes we might be experiencing it for a long time, sometimes it's maybe an event when we see some devastating news and we're thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? As we were speaking about the unknown, I think it's very much saying no to denial. So I think it's kind of almost a time to start talking about it more, and I think that's why we're bringing it up as well. So I do hear people saying certain statements like, oh, let's the young generation to solve the problem, or climate change is not really real, or my lifestyle is fine. It's the problem that all the other people are, that they causing the problem. And I think it's that way we're shifting the responsibility. But once we kind of said, yes, this is global problem, we can then think about very strategic actions of calculating our carbon footprint, thinking what we can do to take care of that environment, and start making more environmentally friendly choices on daily basis. Nowadays, because that conversation already is in progress, we can do so much, from having, I don't know, wisely choosing our means of transport, buying cosmetics that you can refill rather than use constantly plastic bottles, to actually voting in local election for people that support green agenda. I think there is so much amazing power that we have that we can utilize, that we can actually feel, yeah, it's unknown, but we can do something now to change that unknown.
Yeah, that's true. It's amazing. I think in my sphere of people are doing more than ever before. Even like the grandpas and grandmas in my life. But I think younger people take it much more seriously as a whole, because it is their future. And I think it's amazing that there is this sort of young anarchist movement of like protest. It's quite good, I think. That never existed when I was at school.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the same here. Like when I was at school, I'm not sure even if we were talking about climate change.
No.
I think that awareness of the consequences of our choices was very, very different back then. Okay, so I think this is really action for our listeners. So if we want to have those positive impacts of environment, let's start taking care of our environment. If you're not already doing so, just think what else or how you could contribute to that movement. Kitty, you also mentioned about this idea that you start now valuing more your space around you with age. And I think, again, coming back to values, which are something that is important to us, they are a driving force and a motivation that influences our behaviors and actions and choices we make. How now, and what's important in your environment to you?
Well, actually, when you were talking then, I was thinking that the environment I create now is very much for my own comfort. It's actually sort of a bit of a self-care thing of like, well, this is my space and I want it to be this way and this is comfortable to me. When I was younger, I put just as much effort into my room looking a certain way, but it was very an external, like, I can't wait for people to come to my room and see the cool posters that I've got on the wall. It was all about what other people were going to get out of coming to my room, as much as I enjoyed it too. But I think now the space I create is like for my own sake. I don't know how many other people relate to that, but also I do like people coming in and liking what I've done or whatever, but
yeah, I must say that again, with age, I think I'm much more about that comfort. I like that idea of coming home and having the space the way I want it. And you're right, there is this, sometimes we have people around and, they may not like how we done our space because everyone has different styles and designs. I like very rustic Victorian style. That's not everyone's cup of tea. But I really like the fact that it's my comfort and it makes me feel at home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Feeling at home is so nice. I think I always feel at home wherever my home is. But when it's a space that you've created intentionally to bring you this joy, that is so lovely coming home to. And we at some point when we were speaking about ordinary moments, and I know that's not the related episode, but we spoke there about Denmark being often proclaimed as the happiest countries in the world, and of course researchers are very much looking into why is that the case. And there is this Danish way of living, and part of that Danish way was this hygge. Hygge.
Yes, I think that's maybe a better pronunciation there. But it's quite interesting that this entire concept of Danish way of living includes lots of comforts and pressures that you put around the environment. So they speak a lot about having good amount of light in your homes, how much more the Danes are using candles to make that kind of nice lighting environment in their homes. And also having that kind of bits and pieces of fluffy cushions, nice blanket, favorite chairs. And I really like that concept, that they're paying so much attention to their space that they are in, because they understand that our physical space has so much impact on how we feel.
Yeah.
And if our space is quite maybe messy, not accessible, not practical, doesn't feel comfortable, we will feel similar way in that space.
I love a candle. If we're setting a really nice mood in the room, I'll put some candles on, for sure.
Yeah, always. The third one for me is about that connection with the nature and really bringing that sense of wonder into our life through the relationship we have with nature. So wonder is our response to something beautiful, unique in life, and it's very important feeling, because if we experiencing wonder, then our perspective is shifting. We will start showing some pro-social behaviors such as kindness and generosity, and we suddenly feel that, you know what, we're not in the center of the universe. There is something so much bigger and amazing, exquisite around us.
When you were talking there, I was thinking partly about the wonder of nature, but also just an environment that's different to your everyday, and how that creates a spark in your imagination and your ability to wonder about new lives. So like traveling, going and experiencing other cultures and other environments like that, making your ability to wonder about hundreds of thousands of more different situations because you've experienced a new environment. Because you can only wonder about as much as your experience lets you. So you have to experience these things in new environments to really push your ability to wonder.
Yes, absolutely. You kind of has to step out of your perspective. That's why this idea of wonder is so important. And do you remember in the original Wonder episode, we are speaking about what if? What if I could do this? What if the world could look like this? And I think that, I love what you're saying. Like, we have to get those exposures to be able to stretch our perspective. I really love that. And in terms of the environment, there is quite new art movement, which is called solar punk, which is a art movement which envisions how the future might look like if we actually as humanity succeed in solving the major climate change problems. So it's very much imagining how the world could look like. That is, what could be the world that is much more environmental friendly, and we solve those challenges, and those challenges don't exist anymore. What's possible? And I think that's amazing, because that is really stretching our perspective. Where do you find your wonder when it comes to nature?
When we were away this week, we found this waterfall and went paddling on this little pontoon that they'd tied up, and you get lost in your thought a little bit, don't you? And you can kind of just like absorb all this stuff that's going on. And actually we took a few minutes often in the days just to like listen to the noises, and sometimes it's like, oh, are you all right? What's wrong? It's like, no, nothing. I'm just
enjoying
being quiet, and like enjoying what's happening around us, because it was so, you could really get lost in it, and it's nothing like what we're used to in day-to-day life, living in a city, being out there in nature. But I'm actually like a city girl rather than a country girl. And I also find it really easy to wonder in my own thoughts and imaginations in the city. And I know that we're coming back to this kind of environmental element of environment, but I do love city life, and like going to Berlin and sitting in a bar and like just watching all these people, because I find people fascinating. And that's where I can really wonder, like, I wonder what their stories are, I wonder what's going on, where have they come from, where are they going, that sort of wonder in this new environment, which is like triggered by all these new things to see. That's really exciting to me in terms of my imagination.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely also a city girl, but I must say, like, the more I concentrate on nature around me, I notice more nature in the city. So it's quite amazing that, I'm able to go to the rooftop and I'm able to see sunset going down.
Yeah.
And I know it goes down kind of across the city, but I'm still experiencing that nature. And then I love kind of looking at the green spaces and how are they designed within cities, and how they almost like they attract people. We love the kind of greenery. So I do agree with you that we can really enjoy the city, but we can be really paying attention to that greener spaces. But it's always a good thing to get out of the city to really appreciate much more unique, spectacular nature that is out there that we don't get to experience if we're living in a city. And I think appreciating that and just looking for those little moments of wonder and connection with nature is something that can help us to boost our happiness. So just to summarize, when we are exposed to green, natural environments, we definitely get the boost of happiness, and that improves our well-being. There are 3 reasons for this. Do you remember them?
Connection.
Yeah. Connection with nature, so biophilia, yeah.
Oh yeah, biophilia. The Bjork album.
We also tend to engage in social and physical activities when we are outside.
Oh yeah, socializing, that's great.
Absolutely. And finally, the green spaces are less noisy, polluted, and they helping us to achieve this digital detox. And the 3 ways that we can harvest this positive impacts on the environment are, first of all, let's face the unknown and take responsibility for our planet. Secondly, let's start valuing the environment and the physical space we are in more often. So we spoke a little bit here about the Danish way of living. And finally, let's look for more, shall we call it, a green wonder in our life?
A green wonder. Nice. Yeah, what is a green wonder? Well, thanks, Klaudia. So, like always, if you can recommend this show to one friend, then we'll love you forever. And then our next episode will be our last of series 2, our bursts of happiness. I wonder what we'll do for series 3.
Ooh, it's all coming. It's all will be announced very soon. So our last burst of happiness will be all about purpose and finding that, reason for what we're doing. And we will be referring to X for our, let's say, X factor and our strengths.
Nice.
Yeah. Y for yes and decision making, and Z for zest and energy.
Well, I am looking forward to it very much, Klaudia, and we'll have that ready for everyone cooking and live in a few weeks.
As always, we dare you to be happy.
Bye.
Bye.